Here's Elon Musk on launch day, his own words on his own platform. In fairness, Fable is definitely better than Grok 4.5, but most tasks don't require Fable level capability. Hey, Cal here. Appreciate you all joining me. If you're a content creator and you're constantly looking for what should I post next, this is the place for you. Welcome. So my desk lit up yesterday like I've never seen it before because two frontier labs launched on the same day. OpenAI shipped GPT-5.6, and it's not just one model, right? It's a suite of models. So we've got Sol, we've got Terra, and we've got Luna. And as you can see here on the left at my desk, all the stories today are about this. So let's look at it. So the day before, they actually shipped two more models, right? So they shipped GPT-Live, which is a whole separate pair of models just for voice. Very cool. I've played with it. It's pretty exciting stuff. So you can count me in with that, right? So 5 total models in 48 hours. And, let's see, what does it really all mean? On that exact same day, Grok 4.5 also goes public. And yeah, GPT-5.6 launched after sitting for about 2 weeks in a voluntary government security review, which, personally, look, I just think it's about to become the norm. Like the government is going to be a part of holding up all of these models. I think that Mythos and then Fable have kind of set the model for that, no pun intended. So I would expect that this is what's going to be the norm. And you can see, look, this is, my product. It's called Niche, and it's pulled all of this stuff for me first thing in the morning, and it's pretty amazing. So we're gonna jump in to it here. So for some context, because we don't like to assume things here, why do we think 3 models? Well, because they're not trying to sell you one genius model anymore. They're selling you a lineup, and each one in the lineup has a very specific job. So if you look at OpenAI's own menu, this is their launch page, right? So scrolling right here, you see Sol, that's the heavy one, frontier reasoning, long agent runs, the one you'd hire like a senior engineer. And I've played in Sol myself. It's fantastic. Like it really is. When it comes to just executing tasks, like just getting the work done, not being super verbose, but just kind of grinding through the tasks that you provided at an excellent level, it's pretty awesome, right? So Terra's the daily driver, and OpenAI's own pitch says it's basically like last year's flagship brains at a fraction of the cost, and Luna's the fast cheap one. So for when speed is the actual future, Luna's the one for the job. So the words on their own page, which I have here up on the left, right? Each one is built for a specific job, and I think that indicates more or less like what's kind of coming in the future as we think about AI. So GPT Live is my favorite part of this whole thing. It's full duplex. That means it's listening while it's talking, which is pretty cool. And if you've played around with kind of the voice models in the past, you know that it was not as conversational, right? You'd say something, it would think about it, it would respond to you, then you say something else, right? It was turn based. And so it's thinking while it's listening, right? You can interrupt it mid sentence just like you would a person. But in my opinion, here's the detail that's missed in a lot of this coverage, right? When you ask it something hard, it actually quietly hands the question to GPT 5.5 behind the scenes, and it gets that answer, and then it folds it back into the conversation, right? So you think about it more like a live agentic orchestrator, which is very, very exciting. So sit with that. I mean, one conversation, multiple models under the hood. I mean, that's already in existence today as of just 2 days ago. Pretty cool. So now, is Sol the smartest model in the world? I mean, that's what everybody's gonna want to know, right? They're gonna be comparing Sol to Fable and see what's actually the new frontier. I think that depends on what chart you read. So, on the benchmark OpenAI put out in its launch chart, terminal bench, so it wins, high 80s, low 90s. On Swede Benchmark Pro, the one that a lot of working engineers actually care about, Anthropic's Fable 5 still leads it. And OpenAI didn't publish a Sol number there at all, which is also very interesting. So I like to look at what's actually missing on this show and what's the game now. So everybody picks their own scoreboard. Very, very, very tricky. So if you want it, like you can see here on the left, right? If you want it from the most competitive man alive, right? There's Elon Musk on launch day, his own words on his own platform. In fairness, Fable is definitely better than Grok 4.5, but most tasks don't require Fable level capability. So most tasks don't require Fable level capability. That's the whole industry, I think, saying the quiet part out loud. And look, here's my take. The lab stopped selling intelligence this week and they started selling toolboxes, right? So everything you just saw points to the same direction. Enterprises are pulling way back on just throwing tokens at problems. And we saw, it's all in the media, right? We saw it on CNBC this week when companies moving their work towards more cheaper models as their AI bills, they climb, right? It's getting more and more expensive. So cost per results, cost per outcome is the new smart. So the best model is the one that's able to get your job done in the fewest moves. You think about it like a chess engine, right? If you can get the win in 20 moves as opposed to 60 moves, that's going to be better. It's going to be more efficient to get your task done. So very, very interesting stuff. And there are already companies whose whole product is this kind of model routing system. So if you think about model routing, right, it's like if you've got a coding task or if you just have a simple chat task, like which model is most efficient for what you want to get done in that particular task. And so there are companies that do that today, right? They'll read your prompt and they'll pick the right model for it. So the big question is, do the labs just start doing that themselves? It kind of seems that, right? That it's happening already in GPT Live. So they've already started. GPT-5 had an automatic router inside of it last year, and then GPT-Live handling questions and then handing those off to 5.5, like that's routing. So they just haven't really called it that yet, but within their own family, they have every reason to do so, right? So it serves more people with the exact same hardware across labs, never going to happen, which means in a couple of years, you probably won't pick a model at all. I can't imagine that you're going to be in a situation where, OpenAI is going to route you to anything to do with Anthropic. So like places like OpenRouter will still have, some place in the market because they can be model agnostic and it could be lab agnostic, right? So I think though, in a couple of years, you probably are not in a situation where you're having to pick individual models, right? You can pick an orchestrator, a big brain model, a Fable style model, and then the models that come out with these releases are essentially parts that are under the hood. Right, and if you think about it, right, like my desk right here, the product that I'm showing you guys, it already runs on like the Claude family of models, and it's an agentic system, right? So the model is picking, it's kind of an orchestrated model in place that is picking which model is best for the job at hand, and then it's giving you back the results, the actual outputs in the most efficient manner possible. So pretty cool stuff there. If there was a couple of things that I would tell you to watch, one, the day that ChatGPT starts to, specifically route between Sol, Terra, and Luna without asking you for it, right? Um, Two, what Anthropic and Google end up shipping to answer like this full duplex voice thing. I mean, right now, almost like when GPT Image 2 came out, you know, they set the pace, if you will, for what an image generator could look like. Same with Sora, even though it's now deprecated, they set the pace for what video generation could look like, and so now they're setting the pace once again as the leading frontier lab on live. So what's the answer from the other labs, right? What's Anthropic going to do? What's Google going to do? What do we think SpaceX AI is going to do? Um, Three, what happens to the routing startups, right? Like, is Open Router going to be in trouble? Do they get squeezed? Are they going to get bought, absorbed into this? Personally, I still think there's a space for them, and it's just because they can route model agnostic. And as you can already see, just kind of with the models that we have available now, it only takes a few seconds to go through the Claude Reddit boards just to see like there's certain use cases that are better for Fable, and then there's other ones that people are just like, yo, Soul is it, right? Like, so it just depends on what you need, and I think that the routing is probably going to be a big part of the answer to that in the future. So my desk pulled every piece of this overnight, the launches, the benchmarks, the quotes, before I finish my coffee, right? Every single day. It's called Niche, nicheangle.com. It's free to start, no card needed. And I'll see you all on Monday. Thanks. Peace.